Hi everyone, so today you're going to be focusing on writing a fractured fairy tale. So remember that a fractured fairy tale is a story that uses fairy tales that you know and changes the characters, the setting, the points of view, or the plots. So some examples are the true story of the Three Little Pigs or the Wolf Who Cried Boy. You can see how they're kind of different. So here you can read a sample fractured fairy tale or write your own fractured fairy tale. So you're more than welcome to read a sample one, but the goal of today is to write your own. So you're choosing one of these fairy tales. I think I'll choose Little Red Riding Hood because I'm familiar with it. And here's the story of Little Red Riding Hood. So, once upon a time, at the edge of a big forest, a little girl lived with her mother. She always wore a red hat and cape and was called Little Red Riding Hood by everyone who knew her. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave her a basket with some cake inside and told her to walk through the forest to the other side where her grandmother lay sick in bed. Remember not to talk to strangers, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said. On the way to her grandmother's house, Little Red Riding Hood met the big bad wolf. "Where are you going, little girl?" he asked with his biggest smile. "To my grandmother's house on the other side of the forest," said Little Red Riding Hood, who had forgotten what her mother told her. The wolf took a shortcut and ran ahead to grandmother's house. When he got there, he went inside and swallowed grandmother whole. Then he put on her cap and nightgown and climbed into her bed. When Little Red Riding Hood got there, she walked right up to bed. "Grandmother, what big ears you have," she said. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. "And what big eyes you have," she said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. "And what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with," said the wolf, and he jumped out of bed and started chasing Little Red Riding Hood. A man who was chopping wood in the forest heard Little Red Riding Hood. He came inside and hit the wolf over the head with his axe. The wolf fell to the ground and grandmother popped out of his mouth. Then the woodsman, Little Red Riding Hood, and grandmother all had cake and tea. So I'm going to write a fractured version of this fairy tale. So here are some options of what I can change. I don't have to change all of them, but here are some examples of how authors fracture fairy tales. So I'm going to click Choose My Changes. You're writing your name. Then it says, in Little Red Riding Hood, the main characters are Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf, and the woodsman. In my story, the main characters are, I'm going to keep Little Red Riding Hood, the wolf, and I'm going to, instead of the woodsman, I'm going to make Grandmama a bigger character. The setting is a big forest. In my story, the setting is a classroom. The story takes place once upon a time. I like that, so I'm going to keep that. My story is told from the point of view of the wolf. And the problem in my story is that Little Red Riding Hood is mean to the wolf. The story ends when the woodcutter hits the wolf and the grandmother comes out of his belly. My story ends when Grandmama takes the wolf's side. I don't think I need to change anything else, so I'm ready to write my fractured fairy tale. The title of my story is, I'm going to keep Little Red Riding Hood, but I'm going to add Goes to School. And remember, I said too that I'm going to tell it from the wolf's perspective. So if I was forgetting what my changes are, I can always go back and see these. And I'm ready to begin. So remember, we need a good hook. So, once upon a time is a great hook. There lived a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. And remember, I'm telling it from the wolf's perspective, so I'm talking like the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood always walked through the woods on her way to school. She always brought treats for everyone in the class except one person. I noticed this and thought it wasn't very nice of Little Red Riding Hood. Every day when her grandmama came to pick her up from school, Little Red Riding Hood would lie and say that she gave treats to everyone in the class. I couldn't take this anymore. One day, when she was walking to school, I approached her. "Ah!" she screamed. I said, "Shh, don't scream. I just want to talk." I told her all about how unfair it was that she was bringing treats for everyone but one person in the class. She did not think that this was a big deal. After that, I walked up to her grandmama's house and told her what was happening. We decided to teach her a lesson. The next day, Grandmama delivered treats to Red's classroom, but told the teacher to give treats to everyone but Red. Red felt very sad. On the way home from school, I approached her again and asked her why she was so sad. She said that someone had delivered treats for everyone but her. I reminded her that she was doing the same exact thing. Out of the house came Grandmama, and Red learned her lesson. If you don't have enough for everyone, then you shouldn't bring anything at all. The next day, Red made treats for everyone in her class. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. So I now have my fractured fairy tale. I'm going to click Finish. And I'm going to click Print my fairy tale. And this will bring up this screen. And when it says destination, I want you to click Save to Google Drive. And then click Save. So now when you go to your Google Drive, this should be here, and then I want you to share it with me so that I can see all of your hard work. Really nice job. I'm looking forward to reading your fractured fairy tales. Bye.